Blog Talk Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen around the globe, welcome to Season 7 of A Touch of Grace. I'm your host today, Glenn, and also the producer of this show. I want to start you off with a couple of things here. Staying in relationships, platonically or romantically, because there is a fear of being alone, or because of comfortability, confines the spirit to a cage, never allowing it to soar to the incredible heights it is destined for. So I started today's show off with that because over the years, my Facebook friend count has went from like 2,000 down to about 800. The 800 people that I have still as friends on Facebook are really cool people. They're a mixture of, people that I grew up with, as well as artists, fellow artists that are out there doing their thing. So I just felt the need to start that out, that, sometimes not everybody is for you, but when you find the people that are, you hold dear to them because, it really is what makes life worth living. All right, so let's that out of the way. I'm not sure what came first, my love of art or music. But I let me try this again. But I do know that both art and music allowed me to drift away to peaceful tranquility for as long as I can remember. As a young boy, I'd draw sometimes for hours or lock myself in the bedroom, singing to the top of my lungs, driving my parents nuts. I even took a stab at being a performer during a brief moment of my life. I was singing at weddings and even performing on a stage show for the Palo Alto Players back in the 80s, the Ware. It was a really cool place to be, but because of stage fright, I just knew performing arts was definitely not something for me. So I settled in as a writer and then later as a pod show host. So let me tell you about today's guest. He is a triple threat in the arts. He's a musician, a performer, and also an amazing painter. He's joining me today to talk about life and the arts. Heston is his name. His beautiful music is lyrically refreshing, vocally, melodically unique, timeless, rich, and soulful. He has even been compared to Marvin Gaye and Ware for his honesty and musicality. Now, he's been my friend, a networking friend for quite a bit over the years, and just one gracious soul, just so kind. And I'm excited to have him on the show today. So let me welcome to the show, Mr. Heston Francis. Welcome, Heston.
What's going on, Glenn? Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Hey, no worries, man. I'm just glad that you're on. You've always been so gracious. I want to give a shout out to Chris Rizek, who was one of last week's guests. He has that website, Soul Tracks, and that's where I first saw your work. It was a 2008 Storyteller. That's how I became acquainted with you, so that I still have that playing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and Chris Riznick, such a huge supporter of myself and a bunch of other artists in the music community. So yes, shout out to Chris. But yes, 2008. That's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while, and that's the one that I have. I love the picture of the bicycle leaning against a tree. Yes. It reminds me. Yeah. It reminds me of childhood, when life was simple. But this is something, I knew you were still making music, but you have, 2011, Warm, Human, Cold World. You have 2013, Love, Junkie. You have 2016, Transparency. And then you have something called Heston Special Edition. So I knew you were still making music, but I'm going to have to catch up with you, Heston.
Yeah. So I have a total of 5 albums at this point, and I have one in the chamber at the moment. I'm just trying to figure out how best to roll it out. So I'm very much still making music. It's just, the industry's kind of changed a little bit, and I kind of have to make some adjustments. So I'm trying to still figure that part out.
Okay, I definitely get it. As an artist, I know that we go into ourselves and we kind of observe what's going on out in the world, and then we channel it into whatever
Yeah.
we create. And so this go around, because I know you've been on the show before, I believe. It's more of just like us having a conversation as friends.
Yeah.
But for the listeners who may not know who Heston is, Heston, where did you grow up?
So I was born in Dominica, not to be confused with the Dominican Republic. This is a lot smaller island. It's part of the British West Indies until our independence in '79. So it's at this point maybe 70,000 people. Very, very small island. So I grew up there, and then when I moved to the U.S. when I was 14, between 13 and 14, I bounced. I'm now settled in New Jersey, but I bounced around to Connecticut, New York, Philadelphia, spent a bit of time in Florida, and now in New Jersey. But, yeah, I was born and raised till a teenager in Dominica.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm pretty sure that might have been a pretty cool childhood. So what do you remember most about growing up there?
Man, there's so many things because right now, not to jump ahead, but right now I'm working on a series of artwork, and that is exactly what I'm doing right now, is channeling all of the things that I've experienced as a kid. But for me, I feel like being on an island and growing up on an island and having that experience kind of allowed me a very unique outlook. I know what it is to be in a four-wall or 100-square-foot galvanized house with dirt floors and no running water, but a lot of love around me. My father was at one point the interim prime minister. He assisted in our independence. So I also had a very cushy, comfortable childhood as well. So there's so many memories, and then so drastically and vastly different from each other growing up on the island. And it's kind of just allows me to have a very unique perspective in life. And it's actually that's probably what maneuvering today in life.
Okay, and if you don't mind me asking, so what came first for you as an artist? Was it you dabbled around with, painting and drawing, or did the music come first?
So the art never came until 2021.
Wow.
I remember briefly in maybe 2016 or so, I was living in Atlanta, and I was asked as a recording artist to provide a piece of artwork for a charity. And I remember Andre 3000 was part of it. Some of the members from Outkast, some other R&B artists out of the Atlanta area. But it wasn't because I was a visual artist. It was just because I was a recording artist. And, there was a piece of artwork that I created could garner some money because of my following. But so I did, and I remember doing an African woman with a baby on her back, and doing the painting, and then adding fabric for her skirt, and it fell off of the canvas itself. I'm not sure what I was doing. I remember it being sold. Yeah, I know you're laughing. But I
you know what? I was like, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah. No, it's all good. So I remember being sold for a few $1,000s at this. Again, it was more like a recording artist celebrity art show, but it didn't sell because it was great. I just think it sold because I had the musical support of a fan base, and people would pay for that. That's all it was. And that was my first and only thing. There was even at that point no desire or interest in art because I never drew, I never sketched, I never painted outside of just that one. Yeah.
Well, if I might interject for just a minute. First of all, I love your humility. That's probably why we're still friends and why I just felt so cool, knowing that you were one of the people that, remained, because you've always shown such gratitude and graciousness. But I have to tell you, if that painting sold for $3,000, skirt or no skirt,
right,
and then from what I've seen. Because, I knew you as a musical artist. I didn't know you as a painter. And when I look at the stuff that you paint, I'm like, it is incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, most definitely. So, and you had mentioned Andre 3000 and the people down there in Atlanta. And I know, I've seen a few of your pieces of work on Facebook. Okay. So, so that's what happened there. You painted the woman, and did that just ignite a spark in you?
No, I completed that and still had no desire or no thought of even dabbling in it. So that was just a one and done. And then I completely went back to focusing on music.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's jump off art for just a second, painting, and let's go into your music now. Again, the comparisons, Marvin Gaye. I've been hear a little bit of Donny Hathaway in your voice too. It is just like, it's the music I like. It's very smooth, and Chris was talking about a lot of the music that gets, rides under the radar of mainstream music. Your music is just, to me, I think you're just incredible. So where has your musical talent taken you? What stages? And what was your favorite performance, if there was any?
That's a good question. Honestly, I think the most satisfying performance was when I did what's called Jazz and Creole back home. Because growing up in Dominica, leaving all of the friends that I had and the family that I had, I think you always want to be acknowledged or recognized, at least for me, quietly, back home, wherever home is. And one year, there was a woman, Kidjo, and I'm being horrible because I'm not like a music. It's weird. I'm not such a music enthusiast, and I know all of these names, but I think it's Angelique Kidjo. I think she's African artist. And I was doing that concert with her back in Dominica, and to be able to look out in the crowd and see friends that I grew up with and went to middle school with, that was probably the most satisfying for me. I would also say my first time stage in London, in Islington, right outside of London, was when I realized that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. That was my, I think it was, it's called Union Chapel. I did a concert there, and I remember that first time on stage while I'm performing, I'm like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Of course, I'd have been performing already, doing a bit of traveling, but that one show I remember at Union Chapel, that's when I said, okay, this is supposed to be me. This is what I'm supposed to do. Because I don't know, I heard you say earlier, you dabble in music. I self-regulate, and I'm not. I don't know how to put it. It's just almost like sometimes you doubt yourself. You wonder, am I doing good? Is the quality of music that I'm singing, is my voice what it should be? Should these songs be stronger? Whatever it is. But in that moment on that stage, I realized that this is what I'm meant to do. This thing comes. It's not forced. I can get on stage. And I have no desire to be on stage, mind you. I just want to deliver the song that came to me, and being on stage is just a part of it.
I'm glad you said that and explained it that way because, of course, back in the day when, because I think Natalie Cole was the first artist that I really, really got into, and I'd lock myself in the room and sing. And then there was Shalimar, the original one with Jody, Jeffrey, and Howard. And I'd be in there singing. I'm like, I'm going to do this too, right? And then when I got a chance to do it, the nerves were so bad. I think that there was only one performance that I felt at ease. Like if they could all be that way. And it was a wedding of a friend of mine that I had. While I was, had the microphone, I was walking out in the audience. There was no fear. But that was a one-shot deal for me because by the time I hit the stage for the Wiz in Palo Alto, I was always nervous every single performance. So I decided, this definitely isn't for me. So you getting up there, and I think you also play an instrument. Is it the guitar?
The guitar, yeah.
Okay. And let's talk about that because, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Well, I mean, one thing holding a mic and singing and trying to keep it together, but you are singing and also playing the guitar. That's a whole nother level, my brother.
Right. So, and I have to be honest. If you asked me, say we were hanging out somewhere and you asked me to, hey, do you know the song by whoever? I honestly wouldn't be able to play it because I picked up the guitar as a necessity because when I hear a song in my head, I hear the melody. I hear the horns, especially horns and percussion. So the music is all in my head. It's not just writing a song, just lyrics on a paper. I have the melody, I have the bridge, I have the intro. I can hear it all in my head. So the decision to pick up the guitar, as a teenager, and I picked it up as a teenager, put it down, and then picked it back up in my early 20s, was just like getting on a stage to perform. Picking up the guitar was just me trying to get out all of the things that I was having in my head. And so, I'm not this virtuoso by no means. I can play the basic simple chords to support what I do. That's it.
I love how you explained that. I remember when I had my little hand in songwriting, me and my friend Robert Bassett, who passed on a couple of years ago, he was he was really a cool guy. When we would create, I would just get chords, and then I'd fill in, the words. He was very key. So that means he played the melody a lot. So it was harder to write for his because you almost had to write the words to match the notes he was hitting. Whereas mine, I could just glide over the chords. So, so your writing music process, you said it just kind of comes to you. So let me ask you this question, because I remember when I was doing writing poetry and songs, sometimes it's hard to cut that shit off when you're laying down and the songs or the words or whatever is playing in your head. Does that happen to you?
Right. No. So every so often I'll get a song like really, really late at night or early in the morning, and if you don't want to lose it, you have to get out of the bed, get a pen and a paper, or get a voice recorder. So, I have an iPhone, and if something comes to me, I have the music recorder, the voice recorder app on the iPhone. And the weirdest and strangest thing is the place that I get the most inspiration is on a plane. Sometimes I'm not the kind of artist that says, like, I write 100 songs a week. It doesn't work like that for me, or 100 songs a month even. I can commit to an album in my head and create 13 or 14 songs for that album, put 100% into it. But if I'm on a flight, it is so random that a melody and some lyric will come into my head, and it's the weirdest thing. I look like a madman. If I'm sitting by the window, I will turn my face towards the window and try to, hum it into my phone or sing the melody. Or and then in that time, I'll also hear like the background vocal or the melody of the background vocal, and if I hear maybe even a bass line, I will put all of those things, and by the time I land, I may have about 20 different things that I recorded. Here's the crazy part. Half of which is inaudible because the noise of the plane is so loud sometimes that can't really hear it. But at least I get enough to go off of, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. You know, it's funny because I remember Michael Jackson. For the life of me, I don't think that he really read music, and I'm not really sure. I think Prince did read music because of his dad, but I remember, and I think even Luther too, they were actually able to create all of this stuff, the different instruments,
by
the
mouth.
background singers. Yeah, composing and direct other people to do that. So when you're in the studio, like you said, you have your harmonies, and like I said, you're incredible. I mean, that CD Storyteller, the one I talk about the most, because it's the only one I have right now, because I'm going to be getting the other ones.
Oh, I'm yeah.
Yeah. So do you do your own harmonies?
So I'll be honest. I do not do my harmonies. I cannot hear the harmonies. But what I love to do, I know exactly what I want. And so when I hear it, and it's really on a really novice level that I end up, getting to the point that I want. I know, okay, there has to be something lower here. It's not low enough. I need a part that's a bit lower. I need it to rub against on the bottom. Like these are and I'll always say whoever I've hired to do backgrounds, or I will do like the melody part, and then it's almost like a trial and error thing because I know exactly what ultimately I want to hear, but I don't read music. I don't know music theory, but I know exactly what I want. And when I hear it, I can say yes. And if I hear a part that I don't want, it's easy for me to say, that's just not it. Let's just try something else. So it's kind of like by trial and error to get what I'm hearing in my head out.
I see. And so let's talk about your recording studio experience when you're doing that. Now, is there a certain place that you record, or do you have your home studio, or how does that look?
So when I was touring a lot or traveling a lot, I would sometimes write music on the road. I would record, like there was a time when I was spending a lot of time in Europe, and there was a couple of bands that I worked with, and I wrote with other people, and I would end up writing the songs and sometimes cutting music on the road. And then, at least for the time I spent in Pennsylvania, there was a studio there that I would cut all my vocals out of. But to be honest with you, my best experience and my favorite experience is to have a band in the studio recording everything in the moment and then recutting my vocals so that, it's what I want it to be. That experience is the best. I don't always have it, but when all the instruments can come in and cut, say at least bass, drums, keys, guitar, and then I will overdub percussions, I will do horns, I will do a second set of keys or Rhodes or whatever it is. But there's nothing like having the live instrumentation in the moment. There's something different it does for the delivery of the music. And here's the beautiful part. Like, even if I don't keep that vocal in the moment, energy of it, I can duplicate or remanufacture because I know that that music is alive.
Most definitely. And see, for the person out there who is probably just starting out or talking about doing something creative, if you listen, Heston said, and I can agree to this as well and attest to this too, just like when I was writing books, I knew what I wanted to do and I just did it. The thing is that you put both feet forward and dove in. And like I said, had I not known the backstory, from an outsider looking in at what you have been able to produce and bring to light, it's just incredible. And another thing, too, I'm going to bring up that interview last week with Chris Rizek when he talked about he gives a platform to entertainers that, mainstream seems to overlook, which is why I love YouTube as much as I do, because I'm able to dig in and find what I want, from an artist, because I'm not necessarily really into the mainstream stuff. I'll listen, like I said, I listen to Storyteller all the time. It's part of my mainstay in my forever library, just like the Swing Out Sisters, the Mary Edwards, who's going to be on tomorrow. And like I said, the award shows I don't get into because I really like just plain, simple voice and music. I don't like all the overdone productions. I just don't.
But I have to say I'm humbled, man, because no matter what I do, Storyteller seems to be the quintessential Heston album. And it's almost like quietly it's my goal to make a new quintessential album. But everyone, it's just like no matter how many conversations I have about music, for some reason there's something about Storyteller. And here's the thing. The sad part is if I had to do that album over again, it would be a lot cleaner. But it's almost like if it's not broke, don't fix it. There's something about it that people check for. And, of course I'm grateful for it, but you want to know that you can continue to elevate and grow and this and this and that. But if there's a magic there, I'm grateful for it.
Well, it's incredible. And like I said, your music is just, I love it. It's another artist back at the same time that I first got introduced to you was Darian Dean. His If These Walls Could Talk. This guy's traveling all over the place. But my biggest thing for my artist is, and I'm so grateful for social media, is that I'm able to reach out to the artist. And I pretty much leave you guys alone. And, I'm just grateful to be in your circle, I remember when I remember when I interviewed Howard Hewitt. I wish I could go back. You had mentioned going back and probably doing some polish to Storyteller, but lightning struck there, and so maybe it's going to strike somewhere else. But that lightning strike is already cemented. Howard Hewitt. Maybe I might get him again to do the interview, because that interview that I did with him, I was out of breath and I was so nervous because he was somebody that I had just enjoyed. But I just want to say, is there anything in particular before I want the world to know about how to get in touch with you for your art and everything? I also have your link on my WordPress blog, which is glendgrace@wordpress.com. Is there anything that you want your fans or people that enjoy what you do to know from you to them?
Well, yeah, I think most of all, I'm working on a new album. It's called Mimesis. It's Life Imitating Art, which is really, really weird because I had titled that album before I even touched a paintbrush. But it's called Mimesis. It's about me just not knowing how at this moment to roll it out. And if I'm not feeling like, I don't want to be forced. I don't want my hand to be forced to put it out. But yeah, I'm doing a new album, and I'm also working on, a series of artwork. And so in some ways I've put it all together called Art is the Show. But that's where I am. So anything they're needing to know or find out, it's, it's me. It's music. It's art. It's how it's expressed. But yeah, that's currently where I am, is working on a collection of artwork, and in the process of trying to figure out what the first single of this new album will be and how I roll it out.
Okay, and what about as far as an art show? Because I've been seeing your pieces. Every time you post, I'm like, I look at it, I'm going. It takes me back to that the series Good Times, where there was that famous, picture. Your art reminds me on that line. Every time I
very
look at
interesting.
it.
I've never looked at it that way. But yes, so for the art show, what I've been doing lately, and I've done it in a few cities. I did Atlanta, did Jersey, I did Philadelphia, Detroit. There's a few places I've done what's called Art is the Show. So what I will do is I will do a full-fledged concert, and then intermission, and then an art exhibit.
Wow.
So it's in the same space. That's why the venue itself is always the most important thing, because I want the integrity of the music to be maintained, but I also don't want to diminish the quality of the artwork. And so I did want to say, like Philadelphia at the African American Museum, because there is a stage there, and the room is padded where you can do a performance, but also it's an art museum. I did one in Detroit, same thing. So finding the proper venue is what it is. So, but right now I'm in the middle of a series called Roots, My Story to Tell. It's about me growing up on an island in Dominica, growing up in Dominica, and all the experiences that I remember, the things that live in my head constantly about memories of my childhood. So the moment I see the ending, I'll start getting some dates. I know I'm going to circle back to Atlanta, and I would love to come to LA. I know I'm going to do Philly. I'm currently looking at a venue in New Jersey right now, New York. It's just so, it's really where the interest takes me. But do I have venues and locations at the moment that are set in concrete? No.
Okay, well, I'll tell you one thing, because there's a couple of people that I actually want to actually see face-to-face. Adriana L. Williams, I got a chance to see her in-laws from hell back in the day. I flew to Las Vegas. A friend of mine, Kelly, made that possible, so I got a chance to see that, and she's doing her thing in Atlanta. But I most certainly would love, if I get a heads up and enough time, to actually be able to see it. Now, if you're in L.A., that would be definitely easy.
Right.
A bucket list for me would actually be able to go to New York or New Jersey to see you, because I have a buddy of mine named Nelson that lives out that way. And my grandmother, was there in the Bronx. I was back there in the 70s. So I would really like to see the Big Apple again as an adult. But, the cherry on the top of that would be going to see my friend Heston,
yes, sir,
do his thing live. That would be an incredible, incredible experience. So I'm not going to drag this out too much, but what I want to say is the light that you're shedding out there, Heston, the world needs it so very much right now. And I, for one, I appreciate everything that you do. I appreciate the beautiful soul that is you. Any final thoughts that you would like to leave the listeners with today?
Man, it's really you, man. I likewise, I feel like it's such a comfortable conversation, because I've exchanged with you on social media.
Yes.
Over so many years, it's like I feel like I know you, so getting on the phone with you is easy. And I just want to say thank you as well to you for the support, and as well the light and the love you exude through your social media. And obviously talking to you now, it's the same thing. So I just for me, it's like, we're artists, so we are most definitely sensitive. And I just appreciate you appreciating what I've done, and likewise, I appreciate you.
Well, all right. Well, on that note, I just want to say, my friend, love and light. When you get them dates out there, I'll check my pocketbook to see how I could make that happen. But most certainly, you have an open invitation on A Touch of Grace. My passion is back, so I'll be doing more shows. I'm on season 7 right now, so I'll probably even go into 8, 9, 10, 11 and do like a marathon. But in the meantime, I want you to just keep on keeping on. And thank you for joining the show today.
Thank you so much, Glenn. I appreciate you, man.
All right. You take care, my friend. Enjoy your day.
Take care. You too.
ladies and gentlemen around the world, that was a beautiful soul. His name is Heston Francis. Incredible artist. Musically, and his paintings are just incredible. So now there's just yet another bucket list item. I have to see one of his shows live. But in the meantime, tomorrow, the incomparable Mary Edwards will be on my show. Now, I can't wait to talk to Mary. We also have been networking for a number of years now, and I've got a few of her CDs that she autographed and sent to me. And I believe that she was in the Arctic because she does a lot with nature and infuses it with music. And because these shows this time around are not scripted, it's more like I'm talking to my friends. I'm hoping that you enjoy the new format because, again, you know, I have my passion here and I just kind of talk off the cuff. So anyway, on a final note, what I always say is love yourself enough to take care of yourself. And if you're in a bad situation with people that are around you, you have to change your circle. This is from one who understands the importance of that. And also cherish the people around you, you know. Loss happens so quick. You know, there's no do-overs. There's no encore performances once someone is gone. So anyway, that's all I have to say. Again, thank you for tuning in to the show. If you are interested in being on the show, you could shoot me an email with what you got going on, website, etc., to author, that's AUTHOR, G as in girl, D as in David, G as in girl, that's author GD Grace at gmail.com. And then we'll see about making that happen. In the meantime, love and light.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.